I am an addict and my name is Adam and I'm going to choose 36. Amen. All right. Wow. Very honored. I mean, I definitely would have, dressed up in a tie and suit, and I did shave today. I mean, this is my job, to recover, but it's not practical. That's freedom for me today to realize that, if it isn't practical, it's not spiritual. Like there's some freedom with that for me. And yeah, this program has, I can wake up in the middle of the night and, I don't worry. I mean, I'm connected. I have conscious contact. And even though like I have a little fear and I try to be ultra humble, and that's probably a character defect, you know, and there isn't freedom in that. For me, at least, learning step seven, we humbly asked. I'm kind of like tiptoeing on glass, but I'll keep coming back. Freedom for me is, well, I never had to run to a payphone with a quarter in my pocket to call a sponsor because I was on fire and I was scared to use. That's not, I started coming around in 2008 and that was one big giant loss, Arnie. I'm sure you remember that Super Bowl. One big giant loss. 2008 was when I first got introduced there around Super Bowl to Narcotics Anonymous. Now I had heard about Narcotics Anonymous and the other fellowship as a child growing up. I didn't have freedom. I didn't have freedom. I can remember being like 16 or 17 and I had gotten in trouble, and I had gotten pulled over going to prom. And like, what am I supposed to tell this probation officer that I use with my parents? Like there was things that I didn't have freedom. I never understood what that meant. Thinking back now, some of the first time that conviviality or I thought it was a freedom to use, and I had so many misconceptions. That's what I associated using with, that there was a freedom there, that I was growing up. In my big imagination, I don't know if you're an addict like me. I mean, if we go on vacation, at least when I was a child, I would go through the whole vacation on the way there. And then by the time I got there, I was let down. It wasn't good enough. Learning today in Narcotics Anonymous, fast forward, living in the present, whew, it takes work. It takes work. So, reflecting back on what freedom wasn't for me, I'll tell you this, I can remember those spurts. Like I can remember getting locked up and, there was some freedom there for me because I couldn't use. I'm not a prison guy. I only went to jail a few times, but I couldn't use. And then, and there was this hope. I was starting to feel like I was getting my body back restored and I was young. I mean, I swear to all of you that I mean it. And this is how cunning and baffling the disease of addiction is for me. But I mean, my disease remembers 20 years ago. And my disease remembers telling me that I was going to have clean time in Narcotics Anonymous and that I was going to be speaking like that. Right? I mean, when was it that I surrendered? When the pain got great enough? And that's just my story. I'm grateful. Now, so it was one big giant loss. 2008, I get introduced to Narcotics Anonymous. Now, my clean date is not 2008. It is 2018, August 2nd. So I have like 2,178 days. And I not need to be claustrophobic. I will say this, and I don't crave. I try to be a real smart addict, and I have a dictionary, but I haven't used. So I don't physically crave for drugs. But if I think too hard, I'll forget about that freedom, And luckily now, from coming to meetings over and over again, the tape is playing itself out. So I came in finally and surrendered, not by my accord. Okay, so, those 10 years of coming in and out and doing steps 1, 2, and 3, there was a dance. I mean, I guess something was slowly starting to click in my brain, but I had no idea the freedom. I mean, I knew because I know it all. Like, I remember that first meeting in 2008. I mean, the literature talks to me. Look, I'm a real smart addict. Jimmy K got clean in the other fellowship, right? So I'm not an idiot. I always, I'm not an idiot. And that's why I want to stay here. I knew the first time coming in. Like, I knew the aura. There was something about an old timer that, oh man, I love the old timer. I love war stories. Now, of course, our group pamphlet, we don't, and there's freedom in that, right? That we don't obsess over our war stories. But I need to know that the old timer went through that shit. Sorry, language. Speaking of that, and we're potty training right now, and that's some freedom, I hope, for my son. Because he's not wearing underwear, and how close I really am, still, even with coming up on 6 years, to that small child. My feelings, I resonate with the baby and with my son, because we're not that different. I'm a little older and I'm wrinklier. I got them gray hairs too. But I remember coming in to those meetings and those readings. I knew it. Look, I sat here and told you at 16, there wasn't freedom. I couldn't say what was going on at home. And I don't blame my parents, right? I used with my family very, very young. And they've passed away now as a direct result of the disease of addiction. And as I continued to come back and work the steps, I've had some freedom in accepting and understanding that it was the disease of addiction, not, the person. And I try not to, at least being clean today in recovery, I try not to take the disease personally in this aspect. It's a black hole. It's going to eat. Like, it is a disease. It is mine. It will eat. It will. So I need to feed it recovery. That's freedom that I have today, because there's a line in the sand for me. I'm an addict. So which way am I going? Recovery and relapse. It's like, what? 3 letters between those 2 words, AND, recovery and relapse. That's not a big word. But, this program, God is 3 letters, and that is that freedom. And so I knew that I believed. I've heard people share that, I came into meetings and I didn't believe them that they were, I knew that they were clean, and I wanted that freedom. I really did. I was thinking, like I said, I recover and this is such a big deal for me. Plus I have an ego. So it was like Jen asked me to share and I'm like, okay. And I was just thinking a lot because I'm a thinker. And I guess that means I'm self-supporting a fool if I'm thinking. I got to get out of that. Self-supporting a fool. I need a sponsor and I need y'all. But when was that first time that I had a desire to not use? And I was young. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And I can remember I took a pill and within 3 hours, I wasn't my normal self. And I didn't like that feeling. Oh, I liked the feeling I got when, I was high. But as soon as I had some discontent, as soon as there was that freedom was taken away, right? Because I thought I had found some freedom in using. I really did. But as soon as it was gone, as soon as there was consequences, then I'm crying. I'm back crying. I don't like this. So, the battle, at least for me, to get to where I am today, it started a very, very long time ago. And I believed the old timers coming in. I did. When they said, get on your knees and pray in the morning and at night, I said, okay. But I could only do it for like 2 weeks. And at that time coming in from 2008 to 2018, I still used. I was still using. I was, I look back, I don't know why I had that opportunity. Because as I've stayed and I'm here now, like, we don't get that opportunity. A lot of us don't even get to make it into the rooms. That freedom, right? So finally, in May of 2018, still using, I don't know what it was. I just I said, I don't care. I'm going to fucking listen. Now, I didn't stop picking up first. I was, you know, I guess I was open-minded and willing rather than honest at first. But finally, after and during that from May till August 2nd now, I went to a meeting. I raised my hand and picked up a white key tag every day. And then the 30 days when I got clean. And that practice of humility today, I look back now, is freedom. Because I didn't know that by the action of raising my hand, I'm a newcomer, and then going to pick up a white key tag was an action of humility. I didn't know, like, you know, and I can remember, man, it's like y'all know who I am, my area. I've been coming in and out for 10 years, and now it's week 2, me trying to get another white, and it's like, y'all know, why do I have to continue to do this? Because someone told me. I don't know why that happened for me, why it was. And then so I look back now, and that freedom to just take a suggestion, and it's not going to kill me. You know, my feelings aren't going to kill me. And so here I am. I get into recovery, and oh man, I'll tell you one of the freedoms now. And again, this is just my story. I don't, it's not like at some point in early recovery, I got a bird feeder. And so every morning I feed the birds. I mean, I'll fucking be late. Oh, I just cussed. Dang it. Bill D, I was thinking of you too when I was like, I'm not going to make it through this. But I feed the birds every morning. I don't know why. Like something, and I have to do that. And then I can remember, man, I'd be like 2 or 3 days in, and there's the birds again. Here comes the sun again. And like nauseous, and what am I doing? But now, how vice versa, how it is a complete 180 change. How now I wake up and I don't have to worry about being sick, and I get to feed the birds and listen to the birds. And that's freedom for me. And it's one of the first responsibilities that I was able to take on in recovery. Feed the damn birds. Feed the birds. If I could get a few more sponsees, I'd probably be like, listen, go out, buy a birdhouse. I mean, it's been everything. And I did. And, it's 2018. And so I said a meeting every day for 90 days. And I understood that. Now, at first, I did not think that was freedom. In fact, I can remember crying, sobbing, like, am I going to make it to the meeting? But I did. I mean, I did everything in my power. 2 and 3 meetings a day. And I collect the meetings just like I collected, drugs. I keep track of all my meetings. I know how often I pray, twice a day. In early recovery, I was trying to be some prayer mechanic, trying to get freedom. But the whole time, this action of this program, working the steps and listening to what y'all said, is slowly helping me get to a place where I do have some freedom. I do. But again, a grain of salt, because I still have a very healthy fear. I truly do. And we lost both of our dogs this past year, and, lost our dog Monday on the 8th of July, and then July 9th, would have been my mother's birthday, and that's Jimmy K's death date. July 9th, 1985. And I'm a big numbers person. I'm an addict. I mean, I knew what I was putting in me. I always knew. And if I didn't know after I took it, I could probably tell you. Because, I was that guy, that, and I know. And so getting to that 90 and 90 and the numbers and the key tags and working steps, while I'm not going to say that, Narcotics Anonymous, that there's a freedom in the competition of the program, a little competition's okay for me. It is. That's just me. I think that, I need that motivation and inspiration to, that 4 steps, a lot of writing. That was a lot of that first one, 140 some pages. And then I'm driving to Williamsburg, an hour away to share it. And for what? Because I believed, I had faith, I had trust. And y'all said there's so much freedom that comes from your step 5. If you sit down and you write and you share as honest as you can, that there will be a sense of freedom. And I'll tell you this, I was probably about 18 months in when I did that fifth step for a good 2 years. I mean, every day, something I would remember it, think, and then God would allow, or God would inventory it right there for me. Amazing. The steps are just point of freedom, broaden our base. I've been honored that I'm a founder of a home group meeting. So, I told you 2018 and I'm going to 90 and 90. I think I did 475. Well, because COVID hit. And then in our area, there was this Tradition 4. And so these groups, I mean, it was, you had and please forgive me, but you had your people on the left and your people on the right. It is in a sense with narcotics. And is there safe to go to meetings or not? And for a while there, it was almost like Prohibition Narcotics Anonymous. Like in our area, we would have to hide out at meetings and friends of ours' houses. And I was scared. I was scared because I didn't want to lose the freedom that I had gotten coming so far. And by the grace of God, I got to be a founder of a meeting. And this church, I swear to you, 60-foot ceilings. I mean, massive. So big that I could go there 2 hours ahead of time, set up sanitizing stations. Everything. I know the 6 feet apart nowadays, it's kind of like, whatever the doctors will say, but doctors and their opinions. But, and for the longest time, it was the only meeting that was open in this area. And just 9:30 at night on a Saturday, Point of Freedom was the home group, and people from New York we'd have celebrations there because it was such a big church that we were kind of able to during COVID. What a gift. And then this wonderful gift to have a son, my first son, Judah. And I was about 3 years. I had 3 years in recovery. Jeez. And had shared my 12th step that week. That's my evidence. That's my evidence. That's my higher power. I guess somebody could be like, well, if you're in recovery and you're working and you have enough kids, eventually you're going to, but no, it was for me and to grow up in a family where I didn't have freedom. We used, there was no freedom, and they've all passed, mom, dad, sister, brother, for God to allow me to bring a son into this world, only by Narcotics Anonymous. And that's just how it is. And if I truly were to explain to you just how horrendous it was, you'd be like, yeah, because I would have carried on that cycle of addiction. And now I have an opportunity every day through this program to awaken and to hopefully break that cycle. But of course, coming back, I learned from you all that, he will have his rite of passage and he'll have a freedom to make his choices. But hopefully he'll see that this program has given me, is turning me into a man. And then to have another son, now is just, and so, I get to start this home group, but because I had Judah, I had to, if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. And it wasn't practical for me on Saturday nights to ride down into downtown Norfolk and to have this home group meeting. And so I had to get a home group closer to me. And, when I say broader the base for freedom, again, I try to go back and I was on here and I saw, Pops and Mike and Mel and the amount of clean time. So you remember having to use a payphone, right? You remember having, maybe a couple meetings a week. Look, in my Tidewater area before the pandemic, there's 4 or 5 meetings a day. I can, in the morning, mid-morning, lunch, afternoon. Is there freedom in that? I don't know. Because for 10 years, I came in and out. Now, I got to remember and see, I could be real quick to judge everyone else. Well, if I'm going to Fred or going to Tim or going to Bill's meeting, but, I ended up having to do something different this time around. I had to do something different. And the Zoom has connected me. I mean, Zoom has saved my life. It has saved my life to be able to, you know, broader the base, higher the point of freedom. And again, not just freedom. I mean, and if you're newer than me, it is a lottery ticket. It is. This is a lottery ticket. I promise you. And a lot spiritual lottery ticket, a spiritual lottery ticket. Not just the fact that, okay, you know, maybe some debts get cleared up, or, you know, I mean, I have all these great prestigious things I could share with you that being clean and working a program has afforded me. I believe that. You know, everything that I've been given right now with career and, you know, social acceptability. I mean, those things they're not me though. Yeah, they're not me. I told you, if I think real hard, I know exactly what that might taste like, or I know exactly how I felt if I think real hard. So I'm still very close, you know, to going back out. I am. I'm always very close, and I have to say that. And the more I say it, the more I believe it. And that's good. That's good. I need that healthy fear. But if you're newer than me, I'm talking about a freedom of not just physical freedom, because unfortunately, and I say this, you know, I get clean at 35. Life, did you know the earth is spinning at 700 miles per hour, right? And there's seasons, and drugs aside, but stress, we get older. Now it's an honor to get older. Again, Narcotics Anonymous is teaching me that, right? That it is a privilege to grow older. But I'm not going to feel, I mean, look, there's times I have 2 kids. I barely get sleep sometimes. I mean, my body hurts. My body hurts. At some point, even being clean, it wasn't like, 9 years old again, because I kind of wanted that. You know, I expected that. I was like, once I get off these drugs, I'm going to be 10 years old again, how I feel. That's not practical. That's not practical, right? And there's freedom in that, you know? So it's not just that physical, getting rid of the physical dependence, that freedom, because there's always going to be, you know, one of my best friends in this program, and I know y'all know had a scare, a cancer scare, right? So physically, there's always things. I mean, and I'm trying, my cholesterol is extremely high, and sodium and all these things. So it starts to become more than just the drug, you know, because I can get rid of those drugs and start working the steps and doing these things. But there's always a little bit more freedom that I can go after. And what a gift that recovery is infinite, and recovery is infinite. But there's this spiritual freedom. There is this, but I had to work the steps. If you haven't worked step 4, please just set it as a goal. And it was a goal for me. And at some point, I had worked step 8. And I mean, man, I sobbed on step 8. Woo! I mean, I've always heard the big, you know, step 8 is and 8 and 9 were just, I don't know. There's this, at step 8 and 9, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It is truly protection, truly safety. It is a freedom that is beyond, I can't even describe it. And of course, the action of, you know, coming to a meeting every day, listening, taking those suggestions, getting on my knees in the morning and just saying thank you, I appreciate it. At the end of the night, thank you. You know, going and doing those actions every day, my mind, mentally and emotionally, things start to transform. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect, but there's some space sometimes. Now, I've been a little tired, and I wouldn't say I'm angry because of the kids, but you know, when things are right and I'm getting sleep, man, my reaction time slows down a little bit. The steps kick in. I mean, it's natural. It's just, they're divine. I promise you, if you're newer than me, give the steps. It's a freedom beyond, I can't, look, here's how I can describe the freedom in Narcotics Anonymous, and then I'm done. If I have to die tonight, I can die. I don't want to. I promise you, I don't want to die. I don't ever want to die. And then that's what Narcotics Anonymous gave me. That I can die. It's okay. I can die. It is okay. I mean, I think about death every day because I'm with God every day, because that's what you tell me to do. It's a spiritual program, and then not religious, whatever. I'm with something that's loving and caring, and there's hope, and there's all these wonderful principles. It doesn't mean that it feels good. Like, I feel more today than I ever felt kicking any of those maintenance programs, using any of those drugs, all that horror. And I mean, yeah, it's awful, but I feel way more than I ever felt then, you know? But that's the freedom Narcotics Anonymous has given me, that I can die tonight. I don't want to, but I could, but I don't want to. Oh, that I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to live, but yet I have this amazing faith and trust, and I am worthy of trusting my intuition today that, you know, if I had to die, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Narcotics Anonymous has given me everything. Jen, I love you. I love you all so much. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.